So with its fast-growing popularity and fan base, its top-tier animation that even some cartoons can't beat in my opinion, and along with its not-so-overwhelming cast of characters, I'd say it's about time we give the YouTube channel SolarBalls a good to evil list.
Actually, I'm pretty hot! Oh,
Now, in case you don't know about this channel, SolarBalls is a spin-off channel to the Country Balls channel Mr. Spherical, which recently hit 1 million subs, actually. However, SolarBalls takes us off Earth, away from the Country Balls, and into space, literally, and instead focuses us on all the celestial objects in the solar system and their day-to-day life.
you idiot!
Along with Astrodude, who I guess you could say is the main character, even though he only appears in like half the episodes. I mean, he is like the only human character we actually follow in the series.
Hello, Astrodude!
Now, we got quite a bit of characters to go through on this list, but there will be some exceptions for some pretty minor characters that just couldn't quite make it on this list, but we'll try to include everyone that at least somewhat played a role in the episodes. And these are mostly just my opinion, so if you disagree, that's completely fine. That's what the comment section is for. And while you're at it, consider subscribing to the SolarBalls channel if you haven't already. Let's as well try to get him on the road to hit 1 million also. Alright, we're going to start off at the good list, of course, and we're giving the gold medal to none other than Saturn.
If you ask so nicely.
Now, at first in the early episodes, Saturn didn't really appear much and was more of just like a background character, but he's actually been getting a lot of spotlight recently in various episodes, actually. And yeah, we can all agree that Saturn's just a gentle giant that sees the good in everyone and is just a real sweetheart to everyone around him. I mean, he was there to help comfort Mercury when he was worried. Now, Saturn's also obviously known to have a more sensitive side to him, if you know what I mean. Especially when he later found out that he accidentally destroyed his moons during the formation of his rings.
I killed my moons?
And that obviously carried into his other Spotlight episode where he was kind of on edge and overprotective of his moons as a result. Now, I'm gonna be a little biased. I don't fully blame Saturn's moons for getting so immediately upset by Saturn, especially after he told them the story about how his rings were formed, as he probably didn't quite know his own strength and size at the time, but overall, Saturn's just a nice guy that just wants peace. Saturn can, however, have a few laughs here and there once in a while, especially when poking fun of characters such as like Venus or Uranus when they deserve a little humiliation. He's overall the friendliest and most innocent planet you'll meet, so we gotta give him the top tier on this list. Now, continuing on with the good list, we got kind of a minor character next up, which is Astrodude's wife, which I thought should get an honorable mention real quick.
So, you don't know when you're coming back?
Now, she's of course a caring mother slash wife that was a little hesitant of Astrodude's dream at first, like I'm sure any family member would be.
Just be sure to come back safe, you hear me?
But later on, she does still, of course, support Astrodude's dreams, and it just cracks me up every time when she kind of pokes fun of Astrodude. Whenever she kind of knows that he makes up stories, stuff like that.
Let's all shrink.
Muscles talk now. What's next? Planets?
Yeah.
Now, moving on here, I'm gonna go ahead and give the bronze medal to Jupiter now.
Have you guys never noticed that before?
Now, out of the gas giants, I think Jupiter is the one that appears the most in the episodes and is usually the one that the other planets come to for advice when they need it. Now, Jupiter is obviously shown to be a big brother type of character, and considering he was like the first planet formed, it kind of makes sense that he's usually the one to either like teach the other planets about facts.
Earth, I love you. I'll hear you out. But that's incredibly dumb.
Or simply just jumping in during conflict just to keep his fellow planets safe.
When two planets share an orbit, that usually results in either a collision or one of them being hurled into the sun.
In my opinion too, I think Jupiter's personality has to be my favorite in the series. I just like kind of his chill nature and the idea that he could kind of be a backup to keep everyone in line if the sun disappears. And he isn't afraid to talk sense into the others when they take it too far, like for example, turning him literally into a star.
Listen guys, I literally can't become a second sun.
The solar system just wouldn't be the same without this dude. Now, right behind Jupiter, we're gonna give the 4th place to Mars.
Sun doesn't like it when we're out of our orbit. Yeah, that's neat.
Now, Mars is definitely one of the main characters, and we usually see him hanging out with Earth, either playing cards with him or simply just poking fun at Venus.
Nice metaphor, Venus. You're quite a poet. Shut up.
Now, Mars is shown to be kind of the more mature one out of the rocky planets, always being a true friend to everyone around him.
That seems like a bad idea, man.
Like Jupiter, he does tend to scold others when being idiots, especially pestering Venus, and usually doesn't give a shit what Venus has to say a lot of the time.
Hey, for a goddess of love, you're pretty harsh.
However, Mars doesn't really take sides, if that makes sense. Like, sure, Mars and Earth are shown to kind of be besties throughout the series. But whenever Earth kind of took it too far, either with his arrogance or especially with his anxiety about the sun, even though it was pretty clear he kind of felt bad doing so, he just had to join Venus in kind of calling him off for it.
Sorry, Earth. He's right.
Or when he joined Mercury and trying to leak what Venus's true name means. But overall, Mars doesn't really have much flaws to him. I mean, he does tend to have a little bit of anxiety, like he was kind of hesitant at first of being colonized by Earth's Earthlings, but eventually kind of gets used to it. Now, what I also like about Mars is he does tend to be pretty knowledgeable, especially when it comes to geological features of other objects in the solar system, like the Earth or Titan.
You're both made of rock, have atmospheres, volcanoes, and not just any ocean, liquid water. So it's possible he could sustain life. Stop!
And that kind of makes sense, considering Mars used to have liquid water and was more habitable, had like a thicker atmosphere billions of years ago. But overall, you can't really ask for a better friend than this guy. Now, next up in the 5th place, we got Astrodude himself.
Hello, little guy.
Now, as said earlier, Astrodude is like the main human ball character we usually follow throughout the series, appearing about every few episodes or so, and we're probably going to continue following him, as he stated, like in the first episode.
Honey, it's a mission with no return date.
But seriously, we gotta give this guy credit, right? I mean, he's all alone in this tiny spacecraft. I mean, even if some of the planets don't always agree to his tactics, I mean, this single dude is basically paving the way for humanity, or like the human ball race, if you will, to basically become an interplanetary species. And even though it may seem that he does tend to kind of harm or upset the planets in a certain way, as we've seen throughout the episodes, we can't really fault Astrodude for that, because he really doesn't have any bad intentions. He doesn't even know they're alive. He thinks he just imagines it. Now, Astrodude's sort of shown to be kind of a victim of circumstances, at least always being pushed around by pretty much everyone he interacts with.
Hello? Astrodude?
And it's always kind of funny to see Astrodude's interaction with the other planets, especially with him saying one little thing and suddenly all the other planets get triggered by him.
It's drifting away.
He's just kind of an innocent agent of chaos, if that makes sense. However, after the few incidents where Astrodude nearly got killed, he is willing to stand up for himself, especially to his boss. And besides his megalophobia and his other problems, he does seem to rather enjoy his job and does care about pretty much everyone.
Happy anniversary, honey.
So it wouldn't really be fair to put him any lower than the 5th spot. Now, moving on through the good list, we got one of the newer characters, which is Saturn's biggest moon, Titan.
Titan! Where have you been? Hey, Saturn.
Now, Titan, at least in his debut, is shown to be quite the odd one out type of character, being Saturn's favorite moon, which obviously reflects on him being proportionally big compared to the rest of Saturn's moons. And as a result, we obviously see the other moons of Saturn taking a disliking to Titan, probably out of jealousy, I'm guessing. Even though Titan's a pretty innocent type of character and definitely isn't the one to brag. However, he is shown to have a pretty big fascination with the Earth, as we've seen. In short words, Titan's kind of comparable to other characters from movies such as like Miguel from Coco or like Kevin from Home Alone. He's just like a kid that's sick of his family and just wants to get out into the world. I mean, Titan is like one of the most potentially habitable places in the solar system besides like Earth and Mars, so it kind of makes sense. Now, obviously, within the next few episodes, we see that all Titan really wanted is just to meet Earth and become friends with him, but after Mars blurts out all of Titan's geological features, that just made Earth become very jealous and quite judgmental.
Moons should know their place. Keep saying silly things like this and you'll make them think they can become planets like us.
And oh my god, is Earth just unlikable in this episode. I'll get more into him later, but my god, if I were Titan, I'd be downright ticked at the Earth for being a racist prat to me. Alright, now that I've calmed down a little bit, let's just move on. So, moving down on the good list, we got Mercury next up.
Nobody cares, Pipsqueak.
Okay, I take that back.
Now, Mercury honestly has to be one of my favorite characters, personally. He's definitely shown to be the punching bag of the inner solar system.
You're looking like a real Pluto right now.
Oh!
Mercury is obviously imprisoned between two idiots that definitely need mental therapy.
Actually, I'm pretty hot. Oh.
And because Mercury is forced into a toxic relationship with the sun, he's always being harassed by Venus, and basically getting the boot by everyone else, I always kind of got the impression that Mars is really the only one Mercury could look up to as a friend. Poor guy, honestly. Now that I think about it, I'd rather be Pluto than this dude. Now, personality-wise, Mercury is shown to be quite the passive type of character. He obviously has a soft exterior and wants to make friends, but on the inside, he's just screaming being in prison between these two. And after countless times of basically being treated like Meg Griffin from Family Guy, it's pretty clear that Mercury has just had it. Mercury honestly kind of stands out to me for being probably the most developed character of them all, maybe apart from Astrodude.
You're going back into orbit right now! No!
Seriously, what a Chad. I want to see more Mercury and Sun episodes like this, seriously. It's kind of like how in Arthur we got Sue Ellen, which was like the smaller student, basically being the only one that could stand up to the big bully Binky Barnes.
I was going for the record, you clumsy oaf!
Are you talking to me, Pipsqueak?
Yes, and you owe me an apology.
Apologize?
And as a result, he's now afraid of the little pipsqueak for life. Please, give me more Mercury episodes like that. Now, Mercury only falls a little short down on the list compared to characters like Mars or Saturn, just cause it could just be me, but he might have just taken the joke about Venus's name a little too far to the point where he nearly got himself killed, but that could just be me. Now, just rounding off the good list here, I'm gonna put Pluto and Charon together on this list.
You're back!
Hey, Sharon.
I missed you so much, Pluto.
Now, we might as well just mention Pluto's moon, Charon, so she just got her debut, so we haven't really seen much of her yet, but we could tell that she's obviously your generic happy-go-lucky female type. Personality-wise, she seems to be the exact opposite of the Earth's moon. Obviously, after Pluto just arrived in the Kuiper Belt, she's all in Pluto's face and kind of gets a little bit snippy when insulted, but she is more than willing to help Pluto in the best she can, so. And now we got Pluto himself. So basically everything I said about Mercury kind of implies to Pluto here. He basically has the same personality as Mercury, but lonelier, obviously. And we pretty much all know Pluto's arc. Like, he got rejected as a planet, obviously. He just daydreams of being in the spotlight. He did try to befriend Neptune at one point, but that obviously didn't go so well.
Forget this, I'm hanging out with the dwarf planets.
And then he returns to the Kuiper Belt trying to look for the dwarf planets. Poor guy, he just wants to fit in. Please, give us like a dwarf planet strikes back type of episode. And that pretty much sums it up with the good characters, so now we move on to the gray segment of the video. So basically characters that are definitely not evil by any means, but didn't quite get enough to be considered good. So the first kind of neutral character we have is the Moon himself.
Hey, Earth. Moon, you know what I've said about interrupting my card games. Yeah.
I honestly consider him to be basically right on the edge of good and kind of neutral. Now, the Earth's moon is definitely one of the main characters in SolarBalls, and definitely the main character when it comes to the moons. I mean, he was like the only moon that was in SolarBalls before the others were introduced. Now, personality-wise, the moon has a bit of a complicated character to him. Like, most of the times we see him, obviously he's with the Earth, but he's mostly shown to be quiet and a bit timid, usually being the one to just stare at everyone that's talking with kind of a puzzled look on his face. He's shown to have a bit of a temper on him.
What?
But we can't fault him for that, considering the Earth usually treats him like shit.
He really makes me feel like I don't matter sometimes.
And he's definitely the character that does not stand for nonsense and usually plays devious, especially to Earth's expense.
Get back in orbit now! I guess he learned his lesson, huh?
In short words, the Earth's moon is basically the equivalent of a shy kid that's kind of always forced to hang out with the grown-ups. In fact, I think he has a better relationship with Mars than he does with the Earth. However, he is willing to make new friends for sure, like he befriended Titan, and obviously Phobos and Deimos at one point, but that didn't go so well. But overall, the moon has definitely grown as a character over the episodes. In fact, I'm looking forward to seeing his interaction with some of the other moons in the outer solar system, but he's just afraid to cross the asteroid belt. Either that, or maybe the Earth just won't let him go. Now, just behind the Earth's moon, we might as well just give the dark side of the moon an honorable mention here because he got an episode dedicated to himself, basically.
I'm the dark side of the moon.
What? That's just nonsense.
Now, I'm just going to call him the far side of the moon because that's more accurate, but I wouldn't say he's antagonistic like the thumbnail kind of implied, but he's just a bit brainwashed, let's just say.
The Earth?
Exactly!
Next up, moving down on the gray list, we got basically everyone's favorite character next up, which is Neptune.
I'm kinda jelly. Literally.
Now, we definitely don't see Neptune as much as the others, so whenever he is in the spotlight, it's always a treat. Now, Neptune's definitely the funniest character by means, and it's pretty obvious he's supposed to be kind of the comic relief character. He would actually make pretty good merch now that I think about it. Now, I kind of always see Neptune as kind of the Forky of the group. Like, mainly when we get episodes mostly focused on the gas giants, Neptune is kind of the one to drive the plot forward, if that makes sense.
Hey, where did you come from? I have a question for you about rings. But at least tell me why you stink, please. Okay.
Now, obviously, Neptune seems to possess a form of dementia and a bit of short-term memory loss, and that could be because he may have been isolated for years, as Pluto kind of stated in his debut.
Nobody has seen or heard from you in years.
If that's the case, then poor guy. And as a result of his problems, he often irritates the others and just blows things out of proportion, especially to Uranus's expense.
I don't want to be the best at smelling bad!
Even if he may not have any bad intentions. Neptune overall doesn't redeem himself quite enough to be on the good list, but I put him firmly up here on the gray list. Now, next up on the gray tier, we got the other ice giant to go over, Uranus.
My name is Uranus!
Now, Uranus is my personal favorite, not just because he's my favorite planet, but I just like his character. I just love the Australian accent they gave him. His voice is definitely the best, in my opinion.
Every pretty planet has rings.
The thing about Uranus, though, is that, yeah, sure, he could be a bit vain sometimes, but he really is deep down a chill and friendly dude that just wants a bit of spotlight, and he really just wants everyone to see the good in him somehow.
Ew! Hey! Is that how you smell?
However, if you start making fun of his name, ignoring his facts, or mocking him in some kind of way, then he gets pretty snappy.
Neptune, shut up!
And I think we can all kind of relate to this guy in a way. Overall, though, Uranus is a pretty chill and smart guy, but he just gets a little jealous when pushed to the side, that's all. Uranus only slips a little further down the list compared to the others, just cause, I mean, he did consider destroying his own moons in favor of bigger rings, which I guess is considered attempted manslaughter. I don't know, you guys be the judge on that one. Alright, we're moving on. So the next few characters are rather honorable mentions, but first, we got the two Martian moons, Phobos and Deimos.
Can you help us be like you?
Now, these guys really only appeared so far in 3 episodes, 2 of which they actually spoke, but in the other episode they just made a background cameo. Now, it was a little hard to rank these two as their characters are kind of mixed bag-like. They're definitely portrayed to be your typical annoying, devious pair of twins that often put ideas into others' heads.
The moons of Mars are frickin' weird.
But obviously, they're not afraid to stand up for themselves.
Why don't you say that to our face? Yeah! Say that again and your Earthlings will be dinosaurs 2.0!
Yeah, please, just throw an asteroid at that racist prick. Now, next honorable mention is Ceres. Now, let's just say Ceres is kind of the ghost child of the solar system. Now, I originally wasn't going to include this guy on the list as he only had like 20 seconds or less of screen time, but like he's still kind of a big part of the solar system and he kind of got an episode mainly focused on him. Now, further down on the list, we got the rest of Saturn's moons. Besides Titan, because we already covered him.
Hello, my beautiful moons.
Now, from the start, it's pretty obvious that all of these guys aren't too happy to be Saturn's moons at all. Either because Saturn just can't get their names right, or a lot of them are pretty crashed up by Saturn's gravity. And then later on, when Saturn ran his mouth about the whole incident, that's when the rest of the moons just felt like they wanted to just migrate away from Saturn.
So we either forgive you or you kill us?
And they obviously mock Titan for being kind of the OP moon of Saturn, I guess you could say. Now, there's been debates on whether Saturn's moons had the right to be angry or not, but though I don't really fully blame these guys for being so immediately pissed, I do feel like they could have been a little more forgiving. Especially after Saturn at least told them the truth instead of just lying behind their backs and hiding this the whole time. Now I gotta take a minute to admire these designs, because the designs of these moons are just probably the best in SolarBalls so far. Kinda like how they gave Titan a hazy atmosphere, Mimas has like a missing eye due to Herschel crater. They also made one of them female, so yeah, should I continue? Now, second to last on the gray tier, we got, of course, Venus.
I'm sick of this!
And yeah, Venus's personality quite suits him. He's hot-tempered, he's angry, bossy, and quite demanding at times.
Well, keep talking and you'll get a makeover!
Personality-wise, he's basically Uranus just dialed up to 100, and we pretty much just see him thrashing his authoritarian whip all over the solar system, and pretty much always has a bone to pick with someone every time we see him.
You sure you're not an asteroid or something?
Hey, I'm a planet and you know it.
Especially at Mercury's expense, which is really the only flaw I actually have with Venus. Like, after Mercury basically did nothing wrong to him.
Get back to your orbit, Pipsqueak!
He's kind of like the sun's little agent, if you think about it, even though it's pretty clear that these two do not get along whatsoever. Now, on the other hand, Venus just has such a love-hate relationship with the other planets. It's just kind of entertaining to watch sometimes.
Nice metaphor, Venus. You're quite a poet.
Shut up!
Like they're sometimes playing cards together and getting along, but the next thing you know, they just fall out right away. And honestly, as antagonistic as Venus can be a lot of the times, I mean, he's not all bad. He's like the smart one, basically.
It's almost like when my Earthlings make babies.
Dude, what is the matter with you, weirdo?
Like Mars, we often see Venus like telling off the Earth whenever he's being stupid, except Venus does it more direct and demanding rather than Mars, who is more soothing.
This is a really bad idea.
Do you know anything about how a star is born?
And honestly, Venus's hot-tempered tactics actually come in handy sometimes, especially when he played the trick to try to humble down the Earth.
Thanks, Mars.
Yeah,
Overall, Venus is definitely not evil, but just a little rough on the edges. Now, just wrapping up the gray list here, we finally got the Earth. Now, honestly, I was not expecting to rank this guy this low on the list, but like, come on, we have to.
But I know. So? Does he have an ocean, huh?
The Earth is honestly kind of the equivalent of like a spoiled rich kid if you think about it. He's usually portrayed to be rather dumb, cocky, arrogant, usually just full of himself and his Earthlings. He's also pretty rude and quite insulting at times.
Moons should know their place. Keep saying silly things like this and you'll make them think they become planets like us. Well, that was rude.
You racist hypocrite, you. What next? You're gonna go up to Phobos and Deimos and just count them as asteroids because they're not spherical?
You mean those two small pebbles, Phobos and Deimos?
Yeah, I hate this guy. Not only that, but he also seems to possess very little respect for even his best friends, such as the Moon or Mars. I think even Venus had more overall redeeming qualities to him than the Earth has. At least he has more of a brain than him, that's for sure. Sometimes you just get the impression, like, why is Mars even still friends with him? Like, I mean, yeah, sure, they often play cards together, and Earth is overall, like, not a bad friend at times. But the Earth is always just so disagreeable and often comes up with these weird and dumb ideas and usually pulls Mars into him.
But you said it yourself!
It's kind of funny how the planet with the most intelligent life happens to be the dumbest. I guess that's supposed to be the joke. But despite his arrogance, we gotta give credit where credit is due. I mean, he does mean well to his friends and does want everyone to be safe, so. He, however, does need a lot of humbling down, that's for sure. And then finally, we're down to the last two characters that I think should be in the evil spot if there were to be any evil characters in SolarBalls. Now, first up, we got Astrodude's boss, aka Houston, whatever you want to call him.
We told him there's oil in space so he would fund the mission. Worked like a charm. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait.
Yeah, basically Astrodude and his boss have the same relationship as the Sun and Mercury in a way.
I need you to get out there and, you know, see how long you can survive on Mars without a suit.
His boss is obviously the commander at Mission Control, which I would say is an evil dictator, kind of.
Hey, so far so good, you see? You're alive and well. Hey guys, look! We're making history today!
He's obviously a liar, just likes to rush the mission, and has very little respect for Astrodude or frankly anyone.
Can't you go and whistle outside?
Sir? Last time I did one of your ideas, I almost died.
And basically just puts Astrodude in danger every time we see these two interact. All we could really say about this guy is he just cares about his job, that's it.
I'm gonna call my lawyer.
Now, I know I'm going to get comments saying that there really isn't any evil character in SolarBalls, but if I had to pick a least good character, it would have to go to, of course, the Sun. Now, honestly, he's more of a psychopath than just straight on evil, but basically the Earth can just explain it for me. I don't really need to explain much here.
Our sun sucks! He has intense mood swings, he throws around flares for no reason, he constantly threatens to destroy us all.
I get it.
Yeah, he's always portrayed as just downright creepy, especially to the first two planets, Mercury and Venus.
I can name somewhere else, like Venus.
What?
He seems to have a weird thing to always aim his solar flares at the planets, and usually goes insane when the first 4 planets get out of their orbits for some reason. I don't know if that's just a star culture in the SolarBalls universe or what. Anyways, that pretty much wraps it up for the SolarBalls good to evil list. Now, comment down below what you think. Whether you think some of these characters should be ranked lower or higher, and please comment down your favorite SolarBalls character. And yeah, do consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next video.